Board chair here at Building Bridges Across the River. So I'd like to welcome you here today. Obviously, today is an extremely special day for all of us. I have to clearly admit that 15 plus years ago, Skip and I would never have thought that we would really truly have a campus. We thought we could get to 2 buildings, but never in our wildest dreams did we ever think we could get to 3 buildings. So we're great to be here. There's so many that we'd like to acknowledge, and we have a number of people who are going to speak today, so I'll try to be brief. But I'd first like to acknowledge our members of the board. Please, if you could quickly stand up and be publicly acknowledged for all your hard work. Without their work day in and day out, we wouldn't be here. Also, last week, the Treasury announced the recipients for the 2018 allocation for new market tax credits. And what does that have to do with us? Well, this is part of the but for. But for new market tax credits, this building would not have been built. But for new market tax credits, the second main building would not have been built. So I know we have, I believe, Annie Donovan today from the CDFI Fund, which is part of Treasury, who will be giving some remarks. Also, another but for, and that is if the district had not stepped up some 15 years ago and made a commitment to invest $7 million as part of our $27 million budget, we would not have been able to build the first 2 buildings. So we're going to hear from the district today, and the mayor should be joining us hopefully any minute. So our first speaker today is someone who truly values the importance of having the THEARC in Ward 8. He also has a personal experience with the Bishop Walker School and the importance of having an all-boys school here to complement our all-girls school, Washington School for Girls. So please join me in welcoming Trayvon White, our Ward 8 council member.
First of all, good morning. Good morning. I want to take time to thank a few people. I want to thank Mayor for Life, Marion Berry, for his years of dedication and service to Ward 8 and partnering with Chris Smith and his dad early on to create vision. He used to always say, big vision, man, big vision. I never knew what he meant, but there's a scripture in the Bible that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. And it's because of facilities like this and vision like this to give young boys and girls that you see today an opportunity to expand their horizons and believe. My son, who was a student for 5 years at Bishop Walker, have a beautiful campus right here next on the other side of this. Give him a round of applause. I see Mr. Woody here today. And the School for Girls is also here. And that's what it's about. You know, we're facing some tremendous challenges as it relates to healthcare in the community. So I'm happy to have Children's here as a partner. Not only to do mental health services, dental, but be a primary care physician here in Ward 8. They're doing an excellent job in our community. Give them a round of applause. I would like to thank also our mayor, Mayor Bowser. I know she's on her way for making this facility happen. Actually, my son and I were at the playground the other day, on the playground right here at the basketball court. We need an extra light over there, but nonetheless, there's one light. So we had to play half court last night, and we had a good time. And so we enjoy the amenities here in our community because a lot of people was concerned about the playground getting knocked down. And they assured us there's going to be another playground. There's going to be another playground. So I said, will there be another playground? They said yes. And so we're excited because we believe in building nice facilities. We also believe in building on people. And I believe that's what we believe in our ward. And I also thank our council member for Ward 7, former Mayor Vincent Gray, for being here as well and sharing in the vision. So we want to continue with the list of organizations that's going to be. I want to thank the Phillips Collection, Bishop Walker School, who I mentioned before, Children's National, the David Lynch Foundation, and Apple Tree, specialize in developing the babies. That's important because when we go to the schools, we talk about a lot of critical issues facing our education system. As you hear about the things in the news, we got to start younger. Because when I go to the schools in elementary school, the parents are there in the droves. When I go to middle school, high school, barely none. And so the earlier we start, we know you have a greater chance of pouring back and creating a higher trajectory for our young people. And I know Vincent Gray has been a pioneer for early childhood in the community. So give him another round of applause for vision as well. I would like to also thank George Parlin for helping me help residents get housing in Ward 8. In D.C., we are in what we call a housing crisis, where it's becoming even more unaffordable to live in Washington, D.C. And so I tug on my partners here in the ward and across the city to make sure our people can get somewhere to live. Because healthcare is a housing issue as well. So when people don't have anywhere to live, they can afford to live in D.C., living outside, in the elements, in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, in the snow. And so this vision of creating this facility to deal with all aspects of life here for resident Ward 8 is a great deal to me. So I want to thank all the partners in making this happen. Forgive me if I forget anyone, but I'm excited to be here this morning. But I do have to get back downtown to a hearing. There's hearings going on. We're in oversight, right, Mr. Gray, Councilmember Gray. And so I want to thank you all for having me, and we're committed to excellence here, right here in Ward 8. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Council Member. So our next speaker is someone who's no stranger to the THEARC. By way of quick story, we met almost 20 years ago. Covenant House asked us to come to a meeting to talk about a transitional housing program they're planning to do. So we met, and somewhere in the meeting, middle or the end, Vince Gray shared with me that not only is he dealing with a transitional housing program, he was dealing with a transitional office challenge. And so he needed a new home. And so a number of discussions ensued after that. And to make a long story short, we invited Vince Gray and Covenant House, Washington, to join our campus. And so 15 years ago this June, we actually cut the ribbon on the first building of this campus for Covenant House, Washington. So we'd like to ask a council member from Ward 7, Vince Gray, to come up and give us a few words.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Good morning. First of all, I want to thank Chris Smith for being who he is. What a phenomenal human being. Whenever I introduce Chris or talk about him, my description is that he is the best blend of economic development and social justice that I've ever seen, and I don't see anybody who matches him, ladies and gentlemen. And this is yet another example of that. So, how about another big hand for Chris Smith? I want to thank Trayon White also for having hit the ground running as the council member in Ward 8. He has a vision. He has heroes who he talks about who have a vision, but he has a vision also. And the vision is one that we ought to be able to achieve, and that is being able to have peace in Ward 8, that people don't have to worry about having to face violence when they go out of their house or go to school or whatever. So how about a big hand for Trayon and the work that he's doing here in Ward 8. I want to thank Skip McMahon also. Skip has been out here working with Chris since I can remember. And Skip, you've been a tremendous value to the city, a tremendous value to Ward 8, and a great value to the William C. Smith Company and the talent and the commitment that you bring. How about a big hand for Skip? You know, this is a phenomenal development here, which continues to grow day by day. I well remember, as Chris talked about, he talked about the transitional housing program. It was a transitional otherwise program because we were being evicted. It was the worst situation I think I've ever seen. The most underhanded thing that I've ever seen, and that is, we were actually in a building owned by the National Children's Center at 3400 Martin Luther King Avenue. And the program was growing, it was expanding, and we were being, we were looking to be able to have more space and more opportunities in the building that we were in. And they were negotiating with us at the time to be able to expand the space. But right, Judith? We didn't know what they were doing in the back room, and that was they were in the course of executing our demise, our eviction from the building. And you know what? You know what, Trayon? What was so great was the people of Ward 8 just rose up and said, you know what, we're not going to let this happen. They told us that if we held a meeting about what was happening to us in the building, we would be evicted immediately. And we had people like William Lockridge, who I know is one of your heroes. We had Mary Cuthbert, that's right, who also stepped up. And they convened a meeting across the street in the church. And there were 200 people who came out to that meeting. And by the way, that was the beginning of the effort to evict us, the end of it, rather, to evict us from 3400 Martin Luther King Avenue. And we worked with Chris. We were delighted. We didn't want to be in a situation again where we might not be able to have some control of our own destiny. So Chris was more than amenable to allow us to raise our own money. We raised, with their help, we raised about $6.5 million. And the first building that was built was Covenant House, which still is there, the community service center of Covenant House. I ride past it every week, if not every other day, and look at the fact that it is now a part of the THEARC. The THEARC is a phenomenal vision. It is a phenomenal accomplishment on the part of those who believed that something like this could be done, especially in Southeast Washington. I ride through Ward 7 now, and one of the first questions I get all the time is, when are we going to have the THEARC over here? I said, well, you got $27 million. But it is a phenomenal accomplishment. I'm proud to be a part of it. I want to recognize Judith Dobbins, who is here today. Judith was our program director when I was the director of Covenant House and did a phenomenal job, and then became the executive director herself after I left the organization. I want to also recognize that Children's Hospital is here as well. And what a phenomenal job Dr. Newman, Children's has done here in the District of Columbia and on this side of the river. By the way, I don't call us east of the river anymore. As soon as you say east of the river, people think other side of the tracks. Well, I don't live on the other side of the tracks. I live on the east end of the District of Columbia. We have a phenomenal west end of the District of Columbia, right? Well, you know what? We're going to be proud of the fact that we're on the east end of the District of Columbia. And we have the THEARC. Nobody else in the District of Columbia has the THEARC anywhere in this city. We got the THEARC on the east end of the city, Trayon. And so we should all be proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that we're cutting the ribbon today. I'm proud of the fact that so many more people will be served. And we're going to work hard to make sure that we bring health care in greater numbers and greater supply to the people who live on this end of the city. We're going to build a new hospital, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to work to make that happen. It isn't just a hospital that we need. We need a real health care system. If I can end on this, I recently was involved with a health care system on the West Coast in Los Angeles. They have a hospital that it's called the King Drew Hospital that had become known as Killer King. And the reason is because there were so many people who went there and were so poorly served in that hospital. They came together as a city. They put $300 million together, which is exactly what we have in the budget now, to be able to build a new hospital. But what they did was they built a healthcare system around it. The kind of healthcare commitment, Dr. Newman, that you talk about all the time. And that's what we need to do right here on this side of the District of Columbia. Let's work together. Let's work with Chris. Let's work with Dr. Newman. Let's work with Councilmember White. Let's work with everybody to be able to make that happen, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can stand up and with pride say, we have done the right thing for the people who live all across the District of Columbia, especially the people who live on the East End. Thank you again, Chris. Thank you all, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. So our next speaker started out her support of us when she was a council member of Ward 4, and she has been very steadfast in her support of the THEARC and our campus. 2 years ago, she came out here and helped us with the groundbreaking, and now she's joining us here today with the ribbon cutting. So please join me in welcoming Mayor Bowser to the podium.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It is wonderful to be in the ARC West, in the east end of Washington, D.C. And I am very proud to be with you to help celebrate this wonderful occasion. To Chris Smith and all of the good people at the ARC who have been focused on making sure we have quality programming for all of our children and adults right here in Ward 8 for these number of years, I want to congratulate you. Councilmember White, thank you for coming on to the council, just raring to go and focused on everything that the people of Ward 8 need and really providing energetic voice that's focused on people. The council member likes to say buildings are fine, but what about the people? And the thing about buildings, did you already say that? He says it to me all the time. And I said, I know, Trayon, but we want to have things in the buildings for the people. And the ARC is really no better representation of what we can do when we have the government and the private sector and the community coming together to focus on what residents need. Councilmember Gray is also right in saying that under these two roofs now, not only do we have the arts and education and after-school activity and healthcare activity, all of those things join together in one place. And the ARC is really the envy of the entire city. It is true that everywhere we go, and once people have an opportunity to come to the ARC, they are really mesmerized by all the offerings that are available. So I wanted to be here to congratulate you on the outstanding commitment that you have displayed in the city and look forward to what can happen here in this building too. The truth is that these are very good times in our city in a lot of ways. We are growing. People move here. People stay here. People buying houses here. People starting businesses here. The population of our city will reach 700,000 people this month. It's been a long time since we've been this size. Actually, you can go back to the 1950s. And in that growth, rapid growth really, there are a lot of good things that happen, but there are also a lot of stresses that occur. That rapid growth produces a lot of stress on our housing market and makes everything more affordable, transportation, health care, all of the things that will allow the people of Washington, D.C. to have a great quality of life. The rapid kind of growth and investment, though, also means that unlike many cities our size, we can make historic investments in changing the trajectory of our citizens. That includes education. That includes making sure people have more jobs and economic opportunity. And I'm very proud to say that's exactly what we are doing for the people of Washington. What is so important, though, is that we all know that life is more colorful and better when we can celebrate the arts, when we can invest in young people's creativity and imagination, when we can set the very highest expectations for them and expose them to all the good things in life. And when I come to the ARC, that's exactly what I see, whether it's ballet or people celebrating an annual arts event, or young people making sure that they are having access to health care or great playground facilities. But the best thing that they experience is when coming here, adults that love them, care about them, and set the highest expectations for them. And when we have that in every neighborhood, in every school, in every after-school opportunity, we know that we're setting our young people up for greatness. This is one thing that I like to leave you with, because we've had the opportunity to go to many schools, talk to many young people, and making sure that we're understanding all of the things that we need. One thing I know for sure is that we have some special young people in this city. Smart, innovative, they have great resiliency skills, and they want what we all want: safe neighborhoods, great schools, and they want to look to a future that is bright and optimistic. And there is really no better representation of that than what we have seen in Chris Smith and the foundation and all involved in saying, I'm in Ward 8. Ward 8 has been good to me, and we are going to be good to Ward 8, and that's the ARC. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. And to build on the mayor's words, great people can do great things in a great building. We've been very fortunate that we had the opportunity to build a building. But the true essence of why we're here is the great work that our partners do and the entire staff of Building Bridges Across the River. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is the president of Building Bridges Across the River and who has brought forth an incredible energy and excitement, and he fosters such a great collaboration with all of our partners. So let me introduce Rasan Bernard, president of BBAR.
Good morning. So everyone came up and they had hands-free. I think the mayor, she had her speaking points, and I brought my speaking points. And I do this because I tend to get ahead of myself. And most of you know if you know me, I'm on coffee all the time. I'm always bouncing around the place, and people are asking, "Why are you drinking more coffee? You're too." But I wanted to stay on task, and so I'm going to be diligent with these notes. Before I start with Building Bridges Across the River, I have to pile on our co-founders. Chris Smith and Skip McMahon, they've been incredible to me and to our team. And when I think of adjectives, I think of humble, I think of visionary, I think of caring, community-focused, family-centered, hardworking, collaborative. I can go on and on and on. And as I thought about where I stood as it relates to the run-up show and being able to thank these two men, the child in me wanted to get a big human-sized thank you card and have all of you sign it. And I said, no, that wouldn't work. And then I thought about hiring a professional thank you team that would wake up with them and thank them. And then when they go to sleep, they'll be there to thank. But we're a nonprofit. It is not in the budget. So I thought the best thank yous are from those who are sincere, family and friends who are sincere. And Chris and Skip are among family this morning. So all of us, this is the best opportunity for me. If we can just stand up and give them a standing ovation for what they have done here at the ARC. We so appreciate them. We really, really appreciate them. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be brief. Building Bridges Across the River has been building bridges since 1997. In 2005, as you heard, we built the ARC East. And I call it a humanitarian mall of magnificence with the best-in-class health, education, arts, and recreation services. Since then, we've been building bridges every single day. We've built arts and culture bridges. As the mayor said, we have the largest footprint here, theatrical footprint, east of the river. We've been building food access bridges. We have a farm and Bridge Park plots that provide 6,000 pounds of produce. We've been building workforce development bridges. Our Skyland Workforce Center has hired over 400, placed 400 people into jobs right here in Ward 7 and Ward 8. And folks, we are literally building a bridge park, literally. And so this ribbon cutting won't be your last. 2021, we'll be cutting a ribbon on that bridge park. But all of this wouldn't happen without you guys. And so I just want to make sure that everyone knows the scope, the growth, and the impact of our services. In fact, I'm going to just clearly delineate that impact. We now collectively, with our partners, provide $30 million in human services to this community. We now have 4 schools on campus. We have the largest theater footprint, as I just mentioned. We have 2 galleries, 2 art galleries. We now will exceed 4,000 patients and 10,000 visits provided by children's because they've tripled their footprint. We now have indoor and outdoor basketball courts. We have the mother of all playgrounds that Kaboom built here. Folks, we have jobs on the campus. We have 250 part-time and full-time people working here every single day in Ward 8, providing best-in-class services. And we will have food. At the end of this year, DC Central Kitchen will be dialing up some great sandwiches, soups, good meals, coffee, right here once Children's leaves that space. And so all of us here, not only for the community who will be learning culinary arts, the opportunity age youth that we will attract will learn culinary arts, but we as a family here will have food on campus right here in the ARC East. And I'll say this before I introduce the next speaker, and it's a mouthful. At 203,000 square feet, we are the largest social service, multi-sector, nonprofit collaboration in the country. As Chris mentioned, the way that we fundraised, designed, and built this $34 million edifice, the story goes it's a third, a third, a third. It's an easy story to remember. A third of that, building bridges across the river, we raised that money. A third, our partners raised to put together, 2/3. And a third came from new market tax credits. And so to talk about the importance of new market tax credits to community projects just like this, I'd like to invite Annie Donovan, who is the director from the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, a fund of the U.S. Department of Treasury. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Rasan, for inviting me to speak here today. And I know that a project like this is a hero's journey, and I'm guessing you're one of the heroes on that journey. So round of applause for you. So I'm just going to say a few words. What I want to do is shed light for a moment on something that sounds really, really, really boring: tax credits. And what I want to unmask is that one of the bridges that does get built to make a facility like this, and it's not just about the facility, it is really about the people, and the intersection of people and place is what gets us really excited about the work that we do. But there are a cadre of finance people who are just as passionate about the work that happens here and just as dedicated and committed. And so some of those folks are here in the room, and I want to acknowledge, first of all, City First Bank. City First actually they used our program, and they provided $9 million in tax credit financing for the very first facility that made the ARC happen. And in the ARC West, there are a number of partners that came together on the financing side. So City First Bank again, Enterprise Community Partners, the Low Income Investment Fund, and SunTrust Bank. SunTrust Bank also provided the tax credit equity in this project. So I am very proud of the work that these folks do in order to make a project like this happen. And New Markets tax credit has also played a similar type of catalytic role in other parts of the city of Washington, D.C. Since our program was created, there's about $840 million in investment that has been made in 60 projects across Washington, D.C. But I'll say that this one takes the cake in terms of the liveliness of this group, the energy that you're pulling together here to make this tremendous opportunity available. So thank you again for having me, and I will be there for the 2021 opening.
tripling the footprint has been, it's emblematic of the vision of our co-founders. It's big vision all the time. Children will move into a space, triple their space, triple the size. They will add much needed asthma, mental health, and dental. We're excited because in a medical desert, we have an oasis here at the ARC. And at this time, I'd like to introduce or to have come to the podium Dr. Kurt Newman, the CEO of Children's National Health System.
Well, thank you, Rasan, and good morning, everyone. Boy, that feels good. It's just great to be here, and I think the theme that I hear over and over again, it's bridges, partnerships, and it's just wonderful to see what Skip, Chris, and their board have created, along with the business community and then our political leadership. And I think with the Mayor Bowser, the council members, we're just in this sweet spot of being able to get things done. And that's what I'm so excited to be here. I was here, I think it was maybe 5 years ago when President Obama was here and talking about economic development. And I wrote down the quote that he said was that this center and all the nonprofits that call the ARC home offer access to everything from education to health care to a safe shelter from the streets, which means that you're harnessing the power of community to expand opportunity for folks here in D.C. And your work reflects a tradition that runs through our history, the belief that we're greater together than we are on our own. And I think that is just so true. And I want to thank you all for allowing Children's National to be part of the ARC family. As President Obama noted, we truly are stronger together. And over the past 13 years, our affiliation with the ARC as a founding partner has made our patients in the community stronger. When the ARC was first established, and it's just hard to believe, but we had 4 rooms, I think, and some mobile vans. And now we're up to, I think, 22 rooms. We're going to be having behavioral health services, dental and oral health, which is new, access to our specialists here, allergy, immunology, adolescent medicine, speech and hearing, and many others. And of course, we'll be continuing to run our mobile health programs that link to communities where there aren't enough doctors, and to the school nurse program that we partner with the city. We have signature programs Stephen teaches here that runs Impact DC. It's cut down asthma visits by 40% to emergency rooms. The Healthy Generations program, where we provide medical care and family planning and case management and on and on. And I just couldn't go any further if I didn't highlight really our medical director, Dr. Marseille White. Marseille, where are you? Over here on this side of the river, or East End, whatever. What are we? The East End. People think she's the CEO, and I understand. I understand why, because she's just built these amazing programs, and it's part of a health system. Councilmember Gray referred to it, a health system that we have for children over here with the ARC. We have a big-time clinic in downtown Anacostia, an emergency department on the United Medical Center campus, and we believe in the vision of a new hospital with a major Children's National presence at that new hospital. So I'm just saying that publicly. Have to take my shots when I get them, and the mayor's here. But Dr. White, I mentioned her, she has a favorite quote, and it sums up Children's National role in our community. And it's by Frederick Douglass, and I'm sure you've all heard it. But it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And I'm saying that in front of the animatron of Frederick Douglass right there. And it just, you can feel you can feel that philosophy. So we look forward to working in partnership with all of you here today to build strong, resilient children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. So I'm really excited about our next speaker because he finally received the office he deserves. If you were to go to the third floor and make a left into their space and then walk down and make another left and you look down the hall. Anyway, I'll let you guys do the tour later. But their nationally recognized program for early childhood education is lauded all over the city. And his team, dedicated to the cause, they're here every single day now as a member of this 93,000 square foot building. So we're really happy to have Jack McCarthy here. So without further ado, would you please join me in welcoming the President and CEO for Apple Tree, Jack McCarthy.
They always tease me about my office. Before we were here, we were up at Theological College at Catholic University working in nun cells, which this is a lot better than that, and you'll see it when you go up there. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that at the beginning. I'd like to thank everyone who played a part in making our organization an integral part of this fabulous partnership. There's one person I'd like to recognize here who's not up here, but who has been instrumental to the long-term growth and well-being of our organization. That's our board chair, Celia Martin, who's down in the back. If you could give her a hand, I would appreciate that. She's been a friend and supporter for more than a decade, and we keep tricking her into staying in that role, and I hope she will continue to in this next great phase. I want to thank Chris and Skip and Rasan and everyone who has helped us be a part of this. Apple Tree Institute for Education Innovation and Apple Tree Early Learning Public Charter School work to ensure that all young children enter kindergarten ready to thrive. Washington, D.C., thanks to people who are here, Mr. Gray, Mr. White, Mayor Bowser, and others, leads the nation in making robust public investments in preschool and pre-kindergarten education. Please give them a hand for that. Thank you. Here at the Arc West, 80 3- and 4-year-old children from nearby homes will receive the best early childhood education available in the District of Columbia in Class A space. It's going to demonstrate how much we value their learning and their lifetime potential. That's a big deal. I used to think research had been done that young children learn best in dark underground settings, usually in churches. I realized there was no research that supported that. And so this celebrates the value and the potential of early childhood education in a way that I think is very important. Here at the Arc West, Apple Tree works at the intersection of research, policy, and practice to develop, implement, and share evidence-based teaching and learning best practices that are lifted up and made available through trainings, seminars, and communities of practice in this state-of-the-art space. Here at the Arc West, Apple Tree works with other schools, research partners, social entrepreneurs, and community partners to continuously improve the way that we prepare teachers to teach our youngest children, to create better environments for teaching and learning, and to develop better ways to engage families in their children's early development and learning, to make the most of this robust public investment that the District of Columbia makes in pre-K. We invite you to partner with us here at the Arc West to help us continue and continuously improve that work that is so important to prepare all young children to succeed in schools, careers, and life. And we're really looking forward. This is going to be a great place for teaching and learning and lifting up the value of early education. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. To know this man is to know that every single young boy that walks into his building has one of I think, the best role models in Washington. Even the young boys that think he's Santa Claus. At this time, I would like to ask the president of the Bishop Walker School, James Woody, to come to the podium.
Good morning. Just the other day, I walked into our lovely space upstairs, and one of our students referred to me as Blanta, and I didn't quite know what he meant. And I said, "Who's that?" Maybe you can figure it out. One of my favorite children's books is The Little Engine That Could, and that is the story of the Bishop Walker School in a nutshell. We are now in our 10th year of operation. We started 10 years ago in the basement of St. Philip's Church at 14th and V Street in historic Anacostia. And we grew from that. We leased some space across the street at St. Teresa of Avila, and then we spread out to the Church of the Holy Communion on Martin Luther King Avenue. And then through the good graces of William C. Smith and Chris Smith, we were able to use some space at the Washington View Apartments on Douglas Road. We started with a single vision in mind, and that was to provide the absolute best educational opportunities that we could for boys in our community. We did that not as a way to, as an alternative to the public system. I grew up here in D.C. And went to public schools my entire life, but we decided for some boys it might be a better option to have an independent school. And our board decided early on that if we wanted to start an independent school to serve the boys that we felt most needed our help here in this community, it had to be financially accessible. And so from day one, we have not charged a penny for tuition to serve boys in this community. And that's our commitment, because we think that education is a right that all children should have, and we want to make sure that the boys who need us most have that opportunity. So we've been doing it now for 10 years, and we've been kind of running all over the place between buildings and trying to manage multiple sites. But thanks to the good graces of the THEARC board, and I have to say thank you to the THEARC board, back in 2012, when we approached this wonderful institution about the possibility of being here, there was lots of conversation, and they did lots of vetting, and thank you for giving us this opportunity. We are humbled by the choice that you made then, and we have done every day since then our best to make sure that we serve boys here, regardless of where they start. We are just so privileged to have Apple Tree on the 3rd floor above us, and they do such a wonderful job. We start in kindergarten, so we serve boys in grades kindergarten through 5, and so to have feeders like Apple Tree accessible to us will make a huge difference for us. And so it's with a debt of gratitude that I stand before you this morning, I just want to thank all of you who have supported us. It takes lots of generosity to do a tuition-free independent school, and 10 years in, we are going strong and looking forward to being here as long as there's a need. And so I just wanted to say thank you and invite all of you to be a part of the work that we're doing. After we're concluding this morning, please feel free to wander up to the 2nd floor. We'd love to show you around. Thank you.
So at events like these, I have to reflect on what is truth and sometimes what's, and you compare that to how you feel. Hearing James speak, I just realized that the law of aerodynamics has taken over the law of gravity, because I'm floating on cloud 9 right now. I may be standing here, but I'm floating. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. The next speaker was appointed in August 2013 by then President Barack Obama to the National Council on the Humanities. Spending time with this person, having lunch, thinking strategically through their position here, how we'll work collaboratively at the THEARC. And every single time I'm in her presence, I leave thinking how smart, thoughtful, open-minded, and collaborative she is. So it's without further ado that I ask that we welcome Dr. Dorothy Kaczynski, the Director and CEO of the Phillips Collection, to the podium.
He's tall. Good morning, everybody. What a thrill. I mean, this is such an inspiring event. It kind of takes my breath away. I'm really humbled and honored that the Phillips Collection can be part of this community. Thank you, Mayor Bowser, Councilman Gray and White. I want to thank Chris. It is really inspiring, and Skip, Rasan, for all of your leadership. I want to especially call out Dibby Cunahan, who, there are people in this room talk about generosity. None of the work we do happens without a lot of generosity, but also a lot of encouragement to kind of, jump in the cold water and say yes. So Dibby has been really instrumental. I want to thank two of my trustees who have always been so supportive of our work in education and community engagement, and those are Lynn Horning and Bonnie Himmelman. They really gave us that encouragement. I love seeing friends from the D.C. Commission on Arts and Humanities here. That fabric of support in D.C. is so important. I would be remiss, I would be a real stinker not to congratulate my Director of Education and Community Engagement, Suzanne Wright. Where's Suzanne? There she is. And all of her staff who are in the midst of inventing Phillips at the Arc. We have great partners here. We've already been working with Double Nichols Theater Company, Children's National Medical Center, Levine School of Music, Apple Tree, Washington School for Girls, and the Boys and Girls Club, and we look forward to working with those delightful young men upstairs from us. So it's been maybe 3.5 years since the conversations first started, and I guess after a gulp, you take on a big challenge. It was pretty easy to say yes, because think about it, in the ARC is education, arts, recreation, and that's part of the DNA of the Phillips Collection. And going back, so America's first Museum of Modern Art will be 100 years old in 2021. And so maybe this is the signature of our next 100 years. It goes back to Duncan Phillips's. It was started as a memorial gallery. He was trying to save himself when he was in deep mourning with the sudden deaths of his brother and his father. He believed in the power of art as joy-giving and transformative. So we embrace that, and that's driven not just our work at the Phillips Collection in the West End, but in all of our work over decades in the schools across this community. So it's a great privilege to be able to be here in the East End and to really invite everybody in this community to tap into their creativity. So here are some of the themes of what we're doing. Museums are changing the way they engage in the 21st century. And this is our opportunity to reach deeply in a new home outside of our walls, in this residence, and to make contributions to the community, as well as really to listen and learn, to know what we should be doing here. It's really a co-creation, and I think that's, Suzanne has really emphasized that it's not a vehicle for our ideas, but really to identify and listen to the needs of the community. Through nearly a year now, we've engaged in that, in listening deeply, and we've learned a lot. We learned that local senior adults need opportunities to rekindle their identity. We learned that stressed out parents and caregivers are undervalued heroes, and they need self-care and creative support. So working collaboration with our partners and stakeholders, Phillips at the Arc is proud to offer top quality arts and wellness programming. And this includes, for the caregivers, often overlooked, surely overworked, a Create While You Wait, drop in, a de-stress creativity workshop. So Rather than getting more and more tense, waiting with that kid for that appointment, you come into the Phillips collection space and really tap into your wells of creativity. For older adults, we'll have creativity, like this tea, a monthly program for seniors combining art, music, and community storytelling. For our partner schools, we have our Art Links to Learning and PRISM K-12. It's our signature innovative arts integration work. We've been working, Turner Elementary, we're working with them. We've been working with Washington School for Girls. So our space embraces a living room. We thought that was more welcoming than art gallery, but a living room where we celebrate the rich history and culture of this East End community through arts-infused initiatives. Our first exhibition, thank you to Double Nichols Theater, honors the Seafarers Yacht Club, the first African-American yacht club in the United States, which was established on the Anacostia River. Go and take your selfie in front of some of those gentlemen's portraits. Phillips at the THEARC strengthens our museum's 30-year dedication to establishing authentic partnerships and programs for mutual learning, exchange, and growth in communities in the D.C. Metropolitan area. We're proud to be here today, really humbled to be here today, and we look forward to an ongoing rich exchange. It's artwork in progress, really. We're so curious as to what we'll build together, and we look forward to welcoming you into your new space, Phillips at the THEARC. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Last but definitely not least, I think this is appropriate. Whenever he enters my room, regardless of what's happening at the THEARC, there is a sense of calm and stillness and peace. And I am proud to say that I was probably one of the recipients of, well, maybe, I want to say maybe, let's just say I have a signed copy of his book, Strength in Stillness. I don't know where I rank in the list of people he gave it to, but at this time I would like to invite the CEO of the David Lynch Foundation, Bob Roth. Thank you.
I'm not so sure all the people in my office would say I create that same effect. Thank you very much, everyone. It's overwhelming. It's deeply satisfying. How many people here have tried some form of meditation? Why is there a meditation center at the THEARC West? Because we're living in an epidemic of trauma and toxic stress. And we've brought the THEARC West, and the THEARC brings together the best of Washington, D.C. And as President Obama said, we want to harness the best of community. And by harnessing the best of the community, how do we do that? We harness the best of each one of us. Well, with this epidemic of trauma and toxic stress, it undermines our creativity. It undermines our health. It undermines cognitive functioning. It weakens us so that we're more susceptible to substance use disorder. We get high blood pressure, diabetes, so many different stress and stress-related disorders. And as Dr. Newman, a very dear friend and wise soul, knows and says, stress causes or exacerbates maybe 80% of all illnesses. So we are very, very fortunate and honored. The Meditation Center, which is a division of the Center for Health and Wellness of the David Lynch Foundation, to be a member of this amazing community. And we are here to serve you. That's it. What are we here to do? Provide training, simple training. Anyone can do it from 5 years old and up. To do what? To access a field of calm that already exists within every human being. We're not talking religion. We're not talking philosophy. We're not talking tofu lifestyle. We're just talking a very simple tool, and we are experts in that. We're working with school districts all over the country and all over the world. We're working with the Veterans Administration. We're working with SAMHSA and programs for recovery from substance use disorder. And we want to bring a technique, a program that can help reduce arrests by 50% in the community among meditating students. That's news from the University of Chicago Crime Lab, where we have programs in schools in Chicago. We work with women and children who are survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And we work with everyone. Where did this start in the country and around the world? It started where every good thing starts, the District of Columbia. In 1993, Dr. George Rutherford, who's been a principal and an educator in the district for 53 years, started at the Fletcher Johnson Learning Center, Quiet Time. That program has spawned. Now there are 600,000 kids who the David Lynch Foundation, the Center for Health and Wellness, has sponsored, funded to be able to learn this simple meditation. And what does it do? Gives deep rest, reduces stress, reduces anxiety, reduces tension. Very importantly, wakes up the brain so we think more clearly. The kids do better in school. They graduate higher levels of percentage rates. And that's just not me talking, that's data. So we're so happy to be here to collaborate with all the different partners to offer this program to everyone here. And a wonderful new partnership is being forged now with Children's National, where we want to do a study. Whole families learning this meditation, from grandparents to grandchildren. This ARC, the ARC and ARC West, is already a model for the country. But we can just add our little support to everything that you're already doing, and we will blow the top off this country. I'm very, very honored to be here. But before I close, I want to say a very special thanks to 3 people who are helping to lead the way here in Washington, D.C., and that is Rena Boone. Rena, would you stand up? This woman has taught meditation for 40 years and is now working at has been working at the Ideal Academy Public Charter School, and she's now the regional director of our work here. Also, Freda Plesser, who's directing our efforts here in Washington, D.C. And many of you already know Reagan Ford. Reagan, or where's Reagan? Right there. Stand up, Reagan. So we thank all of you. Come and find out what this is about. This is being offered in top companies, being supported and recommended by medical doctors. It's a new time. The word meditation, I just say, I've been teaching this a long time. In the old days when my parents' friends would say, "What's Bobby doing?" they would say, "Teaching meditation." And they go, "What?" Because I was on I worked for Bobby Kennedy. I was going to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a U.S. senator like Bobby Kennedy. And so they, "Well, what's Bobby doing?" And they, "Teaching meditation." It's a new time. The problem is great. The research is there. The time is right. And the ARC can lead the way. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, we are at that point. We want to personally thank our mayor. Let's give Mayor Bowser a round of applause. Our council members, Councilmember White, Councilmember Gray, our panelists, thank you. Our co-founders, Chris Smith, Skip McMahon, our fantastic board. You can't get any better than this board. And I'm not biased, this is true. I want to thank the team from Exelon who helped us with our communication plan. I want to give you guys a shout out. Bill Von Haney is a member of our board here. He couldn't be here today. I want to definitely give you guys a shout out. I want to thank each and every single one of you. Each and every single one of you have added to this hub of hope, this humanitarian mall, this dream beyond dream, this home away from home. We can go on and on and on. I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of our hearts, our board hearts, our team's hearts, thank you. And I want to thank, finally, you guys came and sat down among chairs with podiums, and the mics were up, the lights are on, it's warm, the temperature is great, we can breathe. The staff that does this, that prepares this, that comes ahead of us, that gets here at 6:30 in the morning, that mops the floors and clean the chairs. They are important. They are the foundation of our existence. Fundraising is much better because our entire team, understands that fundraising is not about just raising money. It's about showing that we are stewards of what people have given us year over year. And so I want to stand here and I want to publicly recognize the team at the ARC, from the maintenance team to our finance office, to our Bridge Park team, all of the teams that have come together to make this happen, to put this together. Team, I'm truly appreciative. They're sitting right here of all of your work of putting this together. Can we give them a round of applause? Okay, lastly, yesterday it was 78 degrees. I thought I was going to wear a tank top to work. I'm just joking. I never wear a tank top to work. Today it's raining, and so we'll be cutting the ribbon actually in the lobby area. Oh, we'll be cutting the ribbon right here. So I will turn this over. Oh, one more thing.
Applause for this man.
Good. The ribbon stays here, you are, yeah. I'll try not to knock you off your chair.
Up front, can we get a photo shot?
Hey, don't stand up, please.
Hey, buddy, yeah, come on, man. Down, the top in the front.
Okay, on 5, 4, 3,
Whoa, lady, please.